It's time for today's travel and cruise industry news. With the latest from travel and cruises around the world, here's your host, Chillie Falls.
Good morning. Welcome to Travel and Cruise Industry News, coming to you live on location in Puerto Plata, Dominican Republic. I'm Chillie Falls, your host. Glad to be with you today. It's just such a horrible scenery that I've got to look at today. So let me see if I can. Of course, I'm out here in the sun, and so I'm not having a little trouble following my mouse on the silly computer. So let me see if I can show you the horrible scenery that I've got to look at. This is the outdoor grill on the Norwegian Sky. We're in Puerto Plata today. Just to give you a look at the beautiful view from here at the back of the ship. Kind of adopted this area today despite having, bright lighting. Do my show. Amber Cove's about 5 miles from here. I've been there before, but I've never been to Puerto Plata. So, that's what it looks like here in the beautiful Dominican Republic. And that would be me in my studio. Yeah, rough studio, isn't it? Okay, folks, and I know some of you have been worried about my vegetable levels, the medical issues. I do want you to know that this morning I did elevate the vegetable levels here before the show. I am working on a lovely Bloody Mary as we speak. So, welcome to Travel and Cruise Industry News. Lead story this morning, of course, I have to go back and talk about the clip I did yesterday on my pre-cruise testing for the next Royal Caribbean cruise is now done. How about that? All right, today, folks, is National Sponge Cake Day. I have a little story in a few minutes about sponge cake, so I'm not going to spoil it right now. But you need to go out and find some sponge cake, or else I need to go find some dessert here on the ship with sponge cake again tonight. But we'll talk about that in a minute. Headlines today, besides the Royal Caribbean change in protocols, Celebrity follows Royal Caribbean protocols shortly thereafter yesterday. They removed all their vaccine mandates for most sailings. The Bahamas is going to ease their restrictions. And a new cruise port in Alaska, that and a lot more here this morning live at 11 o'clock on Travel and Cruise Industry News. If you're listening via the podcast, welcome aboard. My apologies yesterday for not getting yesterday's podcast up until this morning. We were at sea yesterday, and I could not get my podcast to load. So when we got into port this morning, immediately everything went live for me. So I was able to get yesterday's show up today. My apologies to you guys that are listening. Of course, there won't be any problem with the podcast today. And it will be available on my blog, accessadventure.net, within 15 minutes of the end of the show. Or wherever you get your podcast from, Google Podcast, Apple Podcast, Amazon Music, Stitcher, Spotify, Pandora, doesn't matter. Just search for Travel and Cruise Industry News, and up pops the fat travel guy. All right, guys. Give you some updates on what's been happening here. Hot Air Tom went ashore this morning, and I think, Hot Air Tom does all kinds of crazy things. I think today he was planning on climbing on one of the towers for the tram that goes up the mountain. And he was going to get to the top of the tower and bungee jump off or something just utterly silly like that. He does all those crazy things. That's why we call him Hot Air Tom. So Cindy and I had breakfast together because Hot Air Tom had already started climbing the tower or whatever he's doing. So, and again, because they are in a suite, I had breakfast upstairs in the steakhouse, which is a nice treat for me. So I played Tom this morning with Cindy, and that's us at the breakfast table. And of course, I had my eggs Benedict, of course. There was some sausage and some hash browns this morning. And that's the lovely Cindy. Last night, the three of us ate at La Bistro. Now, that's a fancy French restaurant, and I would never attempt to try to tell you what I was eating other than to tell you that I had escargot, which was, it was so good. Then my that was the appetizer. My salad course, this was a crab salad that was wrapped in salmon. And I'm telling you, I could have made a meal on that. It was called something I couldn't pronounce, but that's what it was. But man, was it good. Now let's see what's next up here. That's, of course, Hot Air Tom and Cindy. And then this is Hot Air Tom's mushroom soup that they both had mushroom soup. And in the La Bistro, they make it at the table. They you get the bowl empty. They put the mushrooms and onions and whatever else goes in it, and then they pour the broth, which is a very thick brown, dark brown, almost like a gravy broth, only it's steaming hot. And they actually make the soup right in front of you. They love it. They've had it before. Of course, I went for the seafood end of it. By the way, folks, this meal was excellent. That is, let me see if I can. That's Arch de Mer, I believe it was called, with a lot of other French names, French words in the title. Basically, it was shrimp and scallops and the little clams. What do they call them? Breakneck clams. That's not what they're called. Some kind of little clams. And that was all cooked in a kind of a garlicky, buttery sauce. Not different sauce from like the escargot was in though. But anyway, it was just so scrumptious. And then Hot Air Tom had lamb chops. Cindy just had sides. She didn't have a main course. Hot Air Tom says the lamb chops were wonderful. He had just a regular sundae for dessert. Had him fix just vanilla ice cream with chocolate syrup. And this, folks, there's no way in heck I could tell you what the name of it was. It was my dessert. And I think Cindy had the same thing. It was something to do with strawberries and some kind of French cream and on sponge cake. That's why I said the sponge cake thing from the start. So basically, I had sponge cake for dessert last night with all this other stuff. And it, again, had 6 names in there I couldn't pronounce or would have no idea what it meant. I rarely, folks, ever rate a meal a 10. This one was a 10. Man, was it good. I will definitely go back to La Bistro again. All right. That's it for the just commentary this morning. I'll be back with today's news after a word from one of our network sponsors. All right, of course, we got to start off with Royal Caribbean. And unfortunately, yesterday, I'm sail on Symphony of the Seas in 2 weeks' time, whatever it is, on the 10th of September. So I was one of the first people notified of this yesterday. I immediately made a video and to get it up, and I couldn't get it to upload. That was all part of us being at sea, and for whatever reason, I could get nothing done yesterday after the show. The show went off fine. We had a good live stream, but I couldn't get anything uploaded, and it was just awful. So it was like 3 hours before the video actually made it up to YouTube. Of course, by then there was 6 or 8 other people had stuff up about it. So I missed the chance on really having being able to announce a big breaking news item. But anyway, Royal Caribbean notified me that there were changes to protocols on upcoming cruises. And of course, that affects me since I'll be on the Symphony of the Seas on September the 10th. Starting September 5th, all vaccinated guests will no longer be required to submit to a pre-cruise test on cruises 9 days or less, as long as they do not go to Bermuda or Canada. Unvaccinated guests aged 5 and older must still test before sailing, but can do so up to 3 days prior to embarkation, regardless of the cruise length. Self-tests will be accepted for this pre-cruise testing. And sorry, folks, I'm having difficulty here with the mouse issue on my story. Let's go back up here. Try it this way. Okay. All right. Now, okay, self-test will be accepted for this pre-cruise testing. Some testing guidelines do remain in effect for Royal Caribbean travelers. For European cruises that call on ports in Greece and Spain, for example, any travelers who are not considered up to date, according to guidelines over there from the European Medicines Agency, must take a test on board the ship prior to debarking. All guests, regardless of vaccination status, must continue to test before any cruises of 10 nights or longer, no matter where they're sailing from. Similarly, sailings to or from Australia or Singapore still require guests to be vaccinated in accordance with local regulations, no matter what the passenger's vaccination status, the cruise destination, or the cruise length. And then, of course, just a few minutes later, Celebrity, of course, that's owned by Royal Caribbean, came out with their own set of protocols. They're slightly different, but follows the basic general guidelines of Royal Caribbean. Celebrity announced the new protocols, which drops vaccination requirements for most sailings out of the U.S. and out of European ports. Additionally, the new protocols will simplify testing guidelines. Celebrity will now accept any commercially available tests, including unsupervised self-tests for cruises to many destinations. The guidelines, which follow the same from Royal Caribbean International, open the door for making travel easier for those who hope to explore the world. While Celebrity Cruises and Royal Caribbean International drop most of the requirements for cruises from many different destinations, not all cruise destinations are ready to let go just yet. Sailings to and from Canada, Australia, and New Zealand require all guests ages 12 and up to be fully vaccinated to sail in keeping with the country requirements. For expedition cruises to the Galapagos Islands, the Ecuadorian authorities require even stricter measures where guests ages 3 and older are to be fully vaccinated. Guests should keep an eye on the specific requirements for each country, which can be found on the website. We've had all kinds of problems with the Bahamas with their regulations, and that was one of the drawbacks to the first initial changes of all these protocol changes. Well, the Bahamas finally is drawing up plans to remove the strict requirements for cruise passengers and bring these to the same level as airline passengers visiting the islands. That's what Deputy Prime Minister and Minister of Tourism Investments and Aviation Chester Cooper said this week, saying the rules will be changed after extensive discussions with the cruise industry. After several weeks of discussions, the moment seems to have come where the Bahamas will implement the same requirements for cruise ship passengers as has been for the airline passengers for the last couple months. This means that guests who have been fully vaccinated do not need to be tested, and guests that have not been fully vaccinated will need to show a negative test taken no more than 72 hours before departure. This requirement will be the same for guests embarking at cruise ports such as Nassau and the private islands such as Perfect Day at Coco Cay or Princess Key or any of those. Basically, it's following in the footsteps of St. Kitts and Grand Cayman, which dropped everything the last few days. And the Bahamas says, wait a minute, folks, we can't get left behind. So they have, in fact, changed the protocols. Don't know if it's effective today, tomorrow, but sometime soon it will be effective. All right, and finally, a new port in Alaska. Initial plans have been announced for a new cruise port destination in Alaska. A three-phase plan to develop Prince of Wales Island, first cruise ship dock, has been released. Formerly a logging port, Klaywak, Alaska, will be poised to welcome its first cruise visitors in less than a year now. The island is located 60 miles northwest of Ketchikan, and the port facility will be on the island's west coast. The community of Klaywak has a population of fewer than 1,000 people year-round. The cruise port is being developed by Klaywakina, along with Una Totem Corporation, the same locally owned Native Alaskan corporation that has successfully developed Icy Strait Point near Una, Alaska, 40 miles southwest of Juneau, roughly 200 miles northwest of Klaywak. Klaywak will be developed in three phases, with the first phase consisting of a tour dock, welcome center, limited food and beverage service opportunities, trail access, and necessary infrastructure, such as restaurants and a bus turn-around loop to accommodate tours. Second and third phases will further expand the port facility to include more retail and refreshment options, shore power connectivity for cruise ships, and a Main Street Alaska district to showcase Alaska crafts. And basically, folks, there's a good chance that they're going to develop the dock so that it can accommodate the bigger ships in case they run into a situation like recently with Skagway having to close for so many ships. It would give them an option to go to Klaywak. So less than a year, we're going to see that opened. All right. That's it for the news for today, folks. So let's hop over in the chat room. If I can read the chat here this morning, it's really difficult to see. And one of the problems with being out here in the sun. Anyway, Kenneth's with us. Hi, Kenneth. There's Pittsburgh Jason. What's hot air Tom up to today? Well, I'm looking up the mountain. I see a couple of those big tall things that the tram goes up. I don't see him hanging off the top of one yet. I haven't. Seriously, Jason, I don't even know what he's doing. He went on he left at 7:15 this morning or something to go on excursion. I'm sure we'll have some stories when he gets back. Carol's with us. Hi, Carol. Cindy's here. Quality not so good today. Well, you just never know. I mean, this has been iffy at best. It might be the location I'm in, Jason. I just know that I was able to, upload my podcast as soon as we got into port this morning. And I've been able to access things that I couldn't access at all yesterday. One of my thoughts was, I'm debating on going ashore since I've never been here before. I'd like to at least go see the resort and the pool and all that stuff. But I'm way behind on work because I could do nothing yesterday. I've got all kinds of stuff to upload, and I'm way behind. So I also, and Cindy, you'll appreciate this since you're a big Norwegian fan. I am hoping to meet with the special needs coordinator on the ship, and if she's available when I go downstairs, I'll take the time to do that because there are some clear accessibility issues. I don't want to say that it has tarnished my thoughts of the ship. So far, as far as the cruise portion goes, this has been wonderful. The people, of course, embarkation was just A1. The food has been way beyond anything you would expect on a good cruise. So far, I'd rank the food on this as good as any cruise I've ever done, which has surprised me. I was not counting on the food being that good, but it has been so far. But there are some interesting accessibility issues, primarily with the public restrooms. There's one whole deck 12. I can access it with one elevator to go to either the Pinnacle Grill, which is also the sushi bar, or Cagney's, which is where I met Cindy for breakfast this morning, and we had breakfast there yesterday. Which that's breakfast for only people that stay in suites, and they conned them into letting me in. The rest of deck 12, which is the sports court, and there's another walking track. It did one thing on one of the walking tracks, but not the one on 12. There's the golf driving nets, and there's a Champs bar. I think there's a pool even on 12. I can't access it on at least as a solo handicapped traveler. On where you get off the elevator for that portion of 12, they have only heavy wooden doors, which at best would be difficult for me to open and get through. But then it's a little ramp to go through the door. My scooter sticks on it. So I tried yesterday morning. I got the door open with one hand and tried to drive the scooter through while holding the door. The scooter got stuck. Then I couldn't go forward to go on through to deck 12 or back out. I was completely stuck with this heavy door, and it just eventually I got back into the ship, and I just left off that I could not get to that part of deck 12. So I want to talk to them about that. But most importantly, it's the public restrooms. And I actually went into one that was marked last night as a handicapped accessible restroom. And it was a rather long hallway that was just barely wide enough for me on the scooter. And then when I got down to the end of the hallway to turn into the restroom, there wasn't enough room to make the turn to go in the restroom. And I looked inside, it didn't have any automatic doors or accessibility inside. It was just a regular sized restroom. So they did have one bigger stall, but it didn't have an automatic door. And there was no way you could get a wheelchair or a scooter down that hallway and turned into that restroom. And it was marked as a handicapped restroom. I have not found yet a public restroom. The only one that I have been able to access, I have to park the scooter outside and walk to get inside. That's fine for me because I am, at least just partially mobility challenged. I can walk 10 yards, but I got to have my oxygen. So it's just really difficult so far on all the public restrooms. Now, other than that, there aren't any major issues with steps and things. Although the one entrance from outdoors to come into the Pinnacle Grill up on deck 12, there's a step there that they need to replace with a ramp. Most of the other major venues do have wheelchair ramps. Of course, I have not seen the pool on 12, but the main pool on 11 is clearly not accessible. Even with my walking ability, I'd have trouble getting into the pool or the 4 hot tubs. So I want to talk to them about it. I know there's a refurbishment coming up next year, I think, and make some suggestions on what they need to do to get anywhere near compliant. Now, I know they don't have to be ADA compliant. This is not an American vessel, but I think just by sailing from U.S. ports, there's probably some kind of regulations that they're supposed to follow. Looking forward to a report on the port. Yeah, well, I hope to do that. I've got a busy day ahead. Amy's with us. Nikki's here. Hi, everybody. Chillie and Tom living it up. Cindy has her hands full. Cindy certainly does have her hands full with both of us. I have enjoyed being with Cindy. Of course, this is the first time I had met Cindy, and it's been such a delight. So, yeah, I am clearly enjoying being with Hot Air Tom and Cindy. Sonny's with us. Wire drinks $20 on the ship. Okay, here's what I found out, Sonny. I ordered a call bourbon. I went back the next time I ordered I just ordered a bourbon and Diet Coke, took whatever they offered, and it was only like $12. So that's okay. I'm not going to spend $20 for a drink. So I didn't. So I couldn't order my call bourbon. And the Bloody Mary was the same, $12. So yeah, I can deal with that. But yeah, that was the first drink. And I ordered a call brand. So I don't do that on this ship. But that's okay. Yesterday, I don't even think I had a drink all day yesterday. I had a couple Sunday, but I may have one last night. Gretchen says, how going to WDW at the end of October. So tacked on a Holland American cruise. Well, very good. I love Holland American. I'd like to get on a Holland American ship here, one day soon. But I'm looking for bargains now. Bonnie's with us. Hi, y'all. In case you're wondering about me looking for bargains, I've spent more money than I like to spend on a couple cruises. So I'm trying to balance that out now with bargain cruises. I don't have the money to do some of the nice cruises that I'd like to do. Maybe one day. Maybe one day this show would be sponsored. That would be nice too. La Bistro, my favorite on NCL ships. Man, I could see why from last night. The food looks so good. I tell you what, Sonny, I was surprised when I've been on Norwegian in the past. The quality of food never stood out to me that I remembered being, wow, this is really good. And already on this cruise. And I remember this is just the second day. Well, if you count embarkation day, a day at sea, this would be the third day. I'm telling you, every meal has the wow factor for me. So hats off to Norwegian, at least the Norwegian Sky. I have no idea what it's like on the other ships. The other thing that a lot of people complain about is their food was cold. I haven't had anything even warm. Everything has been piping hot. I never something I need. Oh, I had the same entree. Oh, I see. Again, Cindy, I'm struggling reading. She had the same entree. Yeah, it was really good. Bonnie is with us. Says Gretchen, good idea. Disney on a cruise too. Okay. Sonny says, "Oh my, a 10 meal, awesome." Yeah, it was too. I could absolutely. I even tried. I could not find anything to make it a 9, and that was, I mean, including the service, uh, the area manager. She came by the table about, I don't know, 3 or 4 times. I was teasing with her like, I'm apt to do. It was just really, really good. So if you ever go to on any Norwegian cruise, man, go to La Bistro. I know I will. Mike's with us. Hi, Mike. You know what? I wonder if I change back to my non-dark glasses, if I can read any better. Me too, Bonnie. Not crazy about French food, but would love to try Chillie's dinner. Yeah, I was not. I was not excited about it. Hot Air Tom talked me into it because they had it booked for last night, and I had two specialty dining thingies that came with my uh, booking. So I said, "Oh, okay, I'll go with you. That's fine." Man, I am so glad I did. And I certainly was not unhappy at all with the main dining room the day before. It was, it was excellent. So yeah, it's been really good food. Thanks, Bonnie. Why waste the airfare? I love French food. Lots of people were having trouble loading videos to Facebook yesterday, supposedly due to the change to Meta. Yeah, I don't like Facebook's changes, especially pages. I know my Chillie Cruises page, like I have to completely leave Facebook to go to the page, and when I'm done, if I post something on that, then I have to go searching the pathway to get back to my regular personal uh, uh, feed. And in the past, I was just able to, go to the pages and click on the ones I want and come right back to, my regular site. So I'm not real wild about the Facebook changes. Here's Joanne. How you doing, Joanne? You're at the nail salon. Very good. Well, get them all pretty. Gretchen says no, thanks. Gretchen, you can give us reports. Absolutely. Gretchen says glad to hear. Does Hot Air Tom have a mouse you can borrow? No, I found my mouse. It's not the mouse issue, it's the glare issue from sitting out here in the sun on my computer screen. and seeing the icon for the mouse. I finally found it, and now I'm back to using it. I did the hard way with my finger for a while. So, Bonnie says, Sonny, definitely some of the best seafood food. The buffet is excellent, and the MDR food is served perfectly. I had lobster tails and giant prawns, so yummy. Very, very nice. Gretchen says, great, Bonnie. Our 2 Princess cruises post-pandemic were disappointing in the food department. Wow, that's too bad. I was actually thinking that the highlight of my cruise on this cruise would be being on a cruise with Hot Air Tom and Cindy. That's the main reason I booked it, was because they were on it. And now the highlight of this, it's hard to say. It's not more than the highlight of meeting them, but the highlight of this cruise has been the food. I mean, just no doubt about that. So far, admittedly, it's just the 3rd day, but man, I'm liking everything I've had so far. Okay, make sure to try the pizza. Yesterday afternoon, I was planning on going to get some pizza because it's in a little bit an unusual location on this one. It's actually in La Cucina, which happens to be here on deck 11. And I was so frustrated dealing with my computer all afternoon trying to get the podcast up. I never got there. So yeah, I got to do a pizza review just for Jason. That will definitely happen sometime. I haven't even seen pizza this week, as a matter of fact, because it's in such an unusual location. Carol says, I've been on 2 Princess ships this year, and the food was excellent on the Royal Princess, but not so good on the Enchanted Princess. Guess it depends on the ship. Cindy says, after the food you're getting there, hope you won't be disappointed with Carnival food in November. Cindy, keep in mind, I was a Carnival guy for 30 years. That's the only thing I knew about cruising. I'm not going to dislike the Carnival food. Yeah, I might have to compare it. But, I mean, I ate Carnival food for years. Gretchen says, I love Alfredo's and the International Buffet. I have not eaten inside in the buffet. When I had lunch yesterday, I came out here. I like to be outside. And I just wanted a burger, which I grabbed the burger here. There's a partial buffet here in the outside grill, whatever they call this. And I went through and grabbed, as a matter of fact, one of the guys grabbed the burger for me when he saw me on the scooter. And I sat out here and had a burger. That's all I had. And I was perfectly fine with that. And I went back to banging my head on the wall, trying to get the stuff uploaded. So the buffet was not real busy then. Yesterday morning, early, because I went to make sure I could find a Cagney's way before it was time to meet Cindy and Hot Air Tom. So I went through the buffet about 7 o'clock. That's the elevator you have to access. You go through the buffet to get to the elevator. It's a strange setup. And if I had been going for breakfast then, I mean, I would have sailed through there. There was maybe 50 people in there. I was just nobody. It wasn't crowded at all. When I went back through it later in the day, it was crowded, and yeah, you have the tendency of people running all over you when you're on a scooter or a wheelchair. But early, it was not busy at all, and it wasn't bad yesterday when I came out here and had the burger. And it wasn't a bad burger. It was a pretty decent burger. So, again, I'm not upset with anything on this food wise on this trip. One morning I might do the breakfast buffet. I tell you what, as long as Cindy and Tom invite me to go up there to Cagney's, I get my eggs Benedict, and man, is that good. That's as good an eggs Benedict as I've, I eat eggs Benedict everywhere that has it. I love it. Man, this is really good eggs Benedict here. So, girl didn't speak English, though. My husband came back with someone else's coffee. Accessibility should be fixed. That's terrible. I agree, and it's something that it's not enough to make me say, "Oh, this is a terrible cruise" because I have accessibility issues. It's not. I can get by with everything that I've run into. I'm looking for the overall picture for people that are a lot more challenged than I am. And one day I may not be able to walk as much as I can walk. So, yeah, I'd like to fix it. I'd like to say, okay, you guys want somebody to advise you on what you need? I'll be happy to do that too. So, Amy says, I wonder if people who design handicapped accessible facilities on cruise ships are anyway mobility challenged themselves. Probably not. And keep in mind, this is an old ship. And this was built, I believe it was built in 2000. So, we're talking about a 22, 23-year-old ship. And while you don't see any signs of that, let's face it, 25 years ago, nobody gave a damn about accessibility issues, or at least not much. And that's something that's come in recent years. Then you have folks that are mobility challenged now that are not staying at home hiding out like they did for years. And you got people like me that are out here egging it on. Come on out and try it, folks. You're going to enjoy yourself. So, yeah, they need to fix some things. I'll be happy to work with them to fix them. Next time you cruise NCL, make sure free at sea is included. Unlimited drinks. Yeah. Although I don't know. Again, I have to compare the cost then because I don't drink that much anymore. Not like I used to, but yeah, I'm enjoying having my Bloody Mary today, and I enjoy having a few cocktails. I enjoy having a cocktail at dinner, and maybe another one at night. So yeah, but the one that I'm looking forward to is the next cruise I book. My next cruise on Royal Caribbean puts me to where the next one I book, I will be Diamond. And one of the perks for Diamond is 5 drinks a day. That is more than enough for me. So I won't have to worry about buying alcohol beverage on Royal Caribbean at all because I'll have 5 drinks a day, and that's plenty. So, yeah, if I get that kind of loyalty on any other cruise lines, that would be good. But that's the one I've done the most on this year, and that's where I have more loyalty points there. What's that noise? I have no idea. It's something behind me. Not a clue what it is. And yes, it's noisy. That was one of the problems with being out here. All right, guys, that's going to wrap me up for today. Again, hopefully, I will be going ashore and sending you some reports from there. And the other hope is that I will get to speak with the special needs director, and I will report back to you tomorrow. And folks, let me take this chance if you're new to this channel. to welcome you aboard. We always appreciate the thumbs up and take this as my invitation to consider subscribing. It doesn't cost anything. Will help the channel out a lot. We do this every day at 11 a.m. or when something big happens. Hit the bell notification. You'll be notified when I go live or when a new video is up. And there are going to be several videos today, one way or the other, now that I've got a signal that I can upload some stuff. So maybe I'll get several things up this afternoon when I get back to my cabin. So that's going to wrap it up for today, folks. Thanks for being with me. I will see everybody tomorrow morning at 11 a.m. Eastern Daylight Time for Wednesday Travel and Cruise Industry News coming to you from, St. Thomas. That's it for today. Later, y'all.
I regularly post videos on all facets of the travel and cruise industry. So if you like to keep up with the latest in cruise ships, ports of call, cruises themselves, Chillie chats, and travel and cruise industry news, just hit the little subscribe button in the lower right-hand corner, hit the bell notification so you'll be notified when a new video is up or we go live.